We head west to Wyoming, where a new project is breaking ground in more ways than one, aiming to bolster both the local economy and America's national security. Near the small town of Ranchester, a company called Ramaco Resources held a ribbon-cutting ceremony last Friday for the Brooke Mine. What makes this mine unique is its dual purpose. It marks the first new coal mine to open in Wyoming in half a century, but it's also the first major critical mineral and rare earth element mine to open in the United States in over 70 years. The plan is to extract about 2 million tons of coal annually for electricity generation. But buried alongside that coal is a wealth of rare earth elements, minerals that are essential for manufacturing everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to advanced defense systems like guided missiles and fighter jets. The United States currently imports the vast majority of these minerals, primarily from China. Ramaco Resources CEO Randy Atkins stated at the ceremony that, quote, "This one mine can break our reliance on China." The project aims to produce over 450 tons of these critical elements each year. This development is being watched closely as a potential model for how the U.S. can secure its own supply chain for materials vital to both modern industry and national defense, all while revitalizing a traditional energy-producing region. A new Senate report is offering a scathing critique of the Secret Service's handling of the assassination attempt against President Donald Trump last year. The report, released yesterday by the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, chaired by Senator Rand Paul, pinpoints what it calls a cascade of preventable failures. This investigation stems from the events of July 13, 2024, exactly 1 year and 1 day ago, when a 20-year-old gunman managed to access a rooftop near a Trump campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, and open fire. The report details a series of critical missteps, highlighting intelligence failures that missed warning signs about the shooter, as well as a lack of adequate security sweeps of nearby buildings. The document alleges a pattern of denials, mismanagement, and missed warning signs within the agency. It argues that pre-assault threat assessments were inadequate, and that security countermeasures on the day of the rally were poorly implemented, allowing the shooter to gain an elevated position with a clear line of sight. Senator Paul expressed deep frustration over what he sees as a lack of accountability, stating in the report's release, quote, "Despite those failures, no one has been fired, and we only know what little discipline was handed out because I issued a subpoena," end quote. The report suggests that the incident was not an isolated lapse, but is indicative of deeper, systemic issues within the Secret Service that require urgent and comprehensive reform. The committee is expected to hold further hearings to question agency officials on these findings and demand a clear plan for implementing corrective changes to restore confidence in the agency's protective mission. While the current administration faces scrutiny over its security protocols, the previous one is also facing new questions, this time over the use of executive power in its final days. Former President Joe Biden is defending his use of an auto pen to sign off on a historic number of pardons and clemency grants. In a new interview with the New York Times published over the weekend, Biden addressed the controversy surrounding the more than 1,500 clemency actions he took in a single day before leaving office. He told the paper that he, quote, "made every decision himself." However, the report clarifies that this did not mean he individually reviewed and approved each of the thousands of names. Instead, his aides say that after extensive discussions, Biden approved a set of criteria for who would qualify for categorical pardons, such as those with certain nonviolent drug offenses. His staff then used an auto pen, a device that mechanically replicates a signature, to sign the final official documents. The practice has drawn sharp criticism from Republicans and the current administration. Last month, President Donald Trump sent a memo directing Attorney General Pam Bondi to investigate the matter, framing it as a potential, quote, "conspiracy" by Biden's aides to conceal Biden's cognitive decline and assert Article 2 authority. Trump has publicly called the use of an auto pen inappropriate, even for routine matters like ambassadorial appointments, arguing that important documents deserve a real signature. While past presidents have used auto pens, the sheer scale of its use for these mass clemency actions has brought the practice under a new political and legal microscope, raising questions about the definition of a presidential signature and the delegation of executive authority. From battles in Washington, D.C., we turn to a financial issue that will soon hit home for some of the nation's seniors. Some Social Security recipients may see a significant reduction in their monthly checks starting later this month. The Social Security Administration, or SSA, is set to begin more aggressive clawbacks of overpayments. The policy change, which was announced in an agency message back in April, officially goes into effect on July 24th. It allows the SSA to withhold up to 50% of a recipient's monthly benefit to recoup money that was paid out by mistake. These overpayments can happen for various reasons, including miscalculations by the agency or a recipient failing to report changes in their income or living situation in a timely manner. The SSA has faced criticism for the size and suddenness of these clawbacks, which can be a severe financial shock for those living on a fixed income. However, financial experts emphasize that affected seniors do have recourse. They can formally appeal the agency's determination that an overpayment even occurred. They can also apply for a waiver, arguing that the overpayment was not their fault and that paying it back would cause significant financial hardship. Anyone receiving a notice about an overpayment is being urged to contact the SSA immediately to explore their options before the garnishments begin in 10 days. In other news from the nation's capital, a federal judge has stepped in to preserve funding for a major healthcare provider. On Friday, a federal judge upheld a temporary order that blocks the U.S. government from cutting off Medicaid reimbursements to Planned Parenthood. The Trump administration had asked the court to lift the injunction, but the judge stood by the earlier decision. The legal fight centers on a provision within a recent law which would have suspended all Medicaid payments to Planned Parenthood clinics for a one-year period. While Planned Parenthood is widely known for providing abortions, its clinics also offer a range of other services to low-income Americans on Medicaid, such as cancer screenings, birth control, and STD testing. Federal law already prohibits the use of federal funds for most abortions. Republicans have long sought to defund the organization entirely, arguing that taxpayer money should not go to any group associated with abortion services. The one-year ban was seen as a major legislative victory for social conservatives. With the judge's order now maintained until at least July 21st, the focus shifts to a full hearing on the case, which has been scheduled for this Friday, July 18th. The outcome of that hearing will determine the immediate future of Medicaid funding for the organization nationwide and could set a precedent for future legislative attempts to restrict its funding.